these are my predictions for the NFC West. This looks a little like chalk, but hear me out here. The Rams, I know a lot of people are predicting a Super Bowl hangover. I've believed in Matthew Stafford since he was on the Lions. And I also have believed in Allen Robinson since he was he started off with the Jaguars. He had to play with Blake Bortles. Then he had to play with Mitch Trubisky and Nick Foles. Like, this player, this receiver has not had adequate quarterback play for his entire career, and now he has one.
While also still being pretty productive given the circumstances. Like,
yeah.
I always think that that's indicative. I couldn't say that word for a second. Indicative of progress when put in a better situation. That if you are capable of being productive with bad quarterbacking, you're gonna shine when you don't have that albatross around your neck.
And McVay sets the table for him in that way. And the culture that McVay creates, and yes, culture is largely a made-up concept that is created when you start winning. But McVay has, because of the winning, has been able to create a culture of, like, everyone's happy in Los Angeles. And they've been able to overcome a lack of depth because of the coaching and the quality of the coaching, the fact that, hey, they have probably besides quarterback, the best player in the NFL in Aaron Donald. And one of the best corners in the league in Jalen Ramsey, who I know had a bad Super Bowl, but I believe in Jalen Ramsey's talent, and they have star power there. So I can't, even though I understand why people think they might regress, and Stafford's elbow is a concern, but I'm a little less concerned than some because of how often Stafford played through injuries in Detroit. And he understands how to do that. I can't put the Niners ahead of them because of the quarterback situation. I'm a huge Kyle Shanahan fan. I have been a huge Kyle Shanahan fan for a long time. Like, even when he was working on the Browns with Johnny Manziel, I like Kyle Shanahan and I root for him because I really love the way that he play designs, and I love that it's unique and that the run game is unstoppable when he actually sets the table for or sets up these plays for his running backs. And they have, one of the best left tackles in football, probably the best, Trent Williams. And they have, like, this just stacked defense, right? And they have Bosa. And I believe in their talent in terms of, like, overall roster and depth, probably more than I do the Rams. But I hated the Trey Lance pick at the time. I did not see what other people saw in terms of his college tape. He can't throw short passes. He can't throw intermediate passes. He can throw hard, but there's no touch and there's no placement. And I would be immensely concerned if I were a 49er fan about the future of this player, because first-round quarterbacks, especially when you trade up and give up 3 first-round picks for one particular player, quarterbacks are coming out in the draft with more and more pro-ready skill sets than ever before, because you have these colleges that are setting them up for success, pro-style systems. And guys like, I still even believe in Zach Wilson. His talent jumped off the screen. Trevor Lawrence jumped off the screen. Joe Burrow, a total Justin Herbert truther and didn't believe in Tua. It seems like I'm right about that too. Like, you could just see it. And I don't see it with Trey Lance. And I also definitely don't see it with Jimmy Garoppolo. And so I just don't necessarily see, and I'm concerned for their team.
That was really nice of you to say about Zach Wilson. I appreciate it. Just as a programming note, I believe that what the takes on Lamar and Trey Lance are going to be our version of postal banking and Social Security for ESVN.
Yes,
and I've been waiting for this Trey Lance take to be committed to wax for ages. So I'm happy that we're finally on record with it. I'm with you in the sense that I think that there's a lot of hype around Trey Lance, primarily because any young quarterback that went to Kyle Shanahan is essentially assumed by everyone in the NFL press to be the odds-on favorite for Rookie of the Year or essentially a Pro Bowler, when I don't think there's been absolutely any evidence of that yet. So, in my opinion, I don't necessarily know or necessarily have. I just have zero idea whether the possibilities with Lance are so vast. He is so raw.
I don't even think it's vast. I think he's a bust.
But I think, I guess, in the sense that he is raw enough where people are the projections for him are so wildly variant that's why it's, I think, hard for me to predict what is even going to happen with him. He's certainly in one of the best positions in the sense that he has the 49ers offense around him, but that doesn't guarantee that he's going to be successful. And also, if I were to put my tinfoil hat on, I don't understand any other reason that Jimmy Garoppolo is still on that team other than the fact that they might not be certain that Trey Lance is going to win this job.
That's not a tinfoil hat. That is the reality. Why else would they bring someone back to undercut the starter if they had no... Shanahan understands how good his team is, right?
Yeah.
And what I saw in these preseason games is incredibly concerning. Incredibly concerning. And I mean... I'm bummed because I really love the way the 49ers have done business up until that point when they traded up for Trey Lance. And I thought they were going to get Mac Jones. I was certain of it. And I think they would be in a much better position.
And that's essentially like to consider Mac's accuracy. Listen, he's probably, in terms of athleticism and in terms of creativity, a little bit more limited in the sense of just like athletic tools. He doesn't really run. He's kind of a pocket passer in a non-pocket passer league at this point. But the accuracy, the touch, the smarts, Shanahan could have sculpted Mac into a truly, truly special quarterback. And I still think Mac has the chance to do that with Belichick. But Lance, both in terms of you're coming from the FCS, he didn't play a whole lot even when he was in college. And he still hasn't played a whole lot in the NFL.
No.
So it's just hard to project anything other than uncertainty onto this guy.
And I think that there are a lot of people who, see they think that you can translate an athlete into a quarterback really easily. And one, I don't even think his athleticism jumps off the screen. That's a whole other thing. But two, it's honestly offensive to a guy like Lamar Jackson or a guy like Kyler Murray or just guys who have the ability to run and make plays with their legs because they're also really good quarterbacks. I mean, Lamar Jackson is an awesome quarterback and understands how to make plays and can throw the ball with touch and into tight windows. And I have not seen anything to suggest that Trey Lance can do that. But I could go on about this forever. The Arizona Cardinals, now that I speak about Kyler Murray, I don't believe in Cliff Kingsbury's offense. I anticipate yet another collapse at the end of the year once people catch on to what they're doing. I think that Murray, despite having a great arm, and obviously he can scramble like hell, has shown limitations when you confine him to the pocket and he can't see over the line because he's small and he gets skittish. And he's not somebody like, big quarterbacks. Why the Giants liked Daniel Jones? It's a bad example, but say you're Mahomes or Allen. You can stand in the pocket and take a hit while you throw the ball down the field. Kyler Murray has a really hard time doing that. And I do think that without DeAndre Hopkins for the first 6 games, who's already declining, I do think that the offensive line is, I think the defense has an aging JJ Watt on it, not necessarily somebody who's going to break games open for the Cardinals. Their secondary is that linebacker Isaiah Simmons seems to have not played up to his draft status. And in a competitive division, I just can't see the Cardinals making it out. And I think they're going to miss the playoffs.
I think they're bad. And I think they're going to be bad. I think Cliff Kingsbury is someone who has one playbook and runs that into the ground until it stops working. And then after it stops working, he keeps going.
Yep.
I think Kyler Murray is unhappy that basically, forgive my colloquialisms when I say this, that they basically accidentally made him out to be a big dummy with his contract, and that he doesn't really focus on the game as much as he should, and is probably playing too much PS5. And unfortunately, nothing wrong.
Wouldn't you be unhappy? Like, what a dumb organization is that in a contract?
Yeah, they're like, oh, his agent's probably not going to read that. The guy's probably going through the fine print saying, wait a second.
His agent didn't read it because he signed it. That's the thing.
Oh, so it's kind of stupidity on all ends.
All ends.
But all that is to say is, like, Chandler Jones is on the Raiders now. Tyrann Mathieu on the Saints now. Like, they've lost some pieces. They haven't upgraded significantly in areas where they need to. I would say essentially every area of that team is broadly mediocre, except for essentially having DeAndre Hopkins, who is either pushing 30 or is over 30, and is not getting any healthier or any younger.
Well, that's why he had to take PEDs, which changes my opinion of him, because I used to be a pretty big fan.
Right, I almost forgot about that.
Yeah.
And someone mentioned the chat, Zach Ertz. Obviously, these pieces aren't bad, but there's nothing cohesive about the team.
Guys, Ertz was kicked out of Philadelphia because he was declining to such a degree, and they believed in Dallas Goedert.
And kind of got traded for Nelson.
Yep.
So,
and he had some like late round fantasy stuff, but on ESVN, I am never going to one-to-one compare fantasy value with player talent.
Because it doesn't, it's completely not correlative.
Like, Devontae Adams is not better than, in my opinion, Jamar Chase, like last year. Jamar Chase is the best receiver one of the best receivers in the league. But Devontae Adams got a lot of catches, right? Or that's maybe not a great example. A good example is Jalen Hurts is a great fantasy quarterback. He's not a top 20 quarterback. And then the Seahawks, look, I mean, Pete Carroll, God bless him. Love the guy. Seems like a really fun coach to play for. That defense looks terrible. The offensive line doesn't look much better. Charles Cross is a work in progress. Quarterback play, massive question mark. I don't really see many bright spots on that team, and they know that, which is why they're one of the teams that's not tanking, but they'll be towards the top of the draft, most likely.
And it's a similar thing, you tread water to have basically Drew Lock and Geno Smith battle it out. Geno gets the starting job. That's not a team that's thinking we are going to be very successful and competitive in this particular.
And they were
division.
Totally uninterested in Baker Mayfield,
right? Because
Baker would have been an upgrade from either of those two guys, but they were uninterested because they're not interested in like being in the middle of the pack. They understand they have to.
They're playing the CJ Stroud game. They're playing the Bryce Young game.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that in a bit, because I don't know if I like Bryce Young as a player, but I mean, I would. I watched Anthony Richardson play over the weekend. So, and
he's
Florida.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was fun. Yeah, he had that. You see that fake scramble he had. He had this fake scramble basically that he pretended to throw. He pretended to throw, completely made this defensive end miss, and then the wide receiver he targeted was standing wide open, not even moving in the corner of the end zone. It was awesome. But with the Hawks, also just want to mention something for the crossover fans. But one of the people that Pete Carroll went to the locker room for in 2018 for just kind of a listening reading session was our friend Dr. Jordan Peterson.
Okay, I take back what I said about.
He was just trafficking in the marketplace of ideas. It's no problem.
It's so unfortunate. Just don't look too hard into the politics of NFL coaches, because
70-year-old white guy at that as well.
It's a minefield.